Well, good afternoon, everyone. There may be a few more people gathering with us. It's okay. The more, the merrier, the better. On behalf of Judy's family, I want to thank you for coming this afternoon. And may this be a truly true celebration of her life. I know that your being here is an encouragement to her family. Many will be sharing in this celebration of life this afternoon. I'd like to begin with this reference. It was written, 3,000 years ago by one of the wisest men. It's part of the Old Testament scriptures. Some of you are familiar with it. You've heard it before. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. Perhaps we could use the analogy, and I don't mean to be trivial, but I think it's probably more realistic than we might think, that we are maybe still mourning in the various stages of grief and the loss of loved one. While what I've read of Judy and knowing something about her life, well, she's probably dancing. As for us, time is a reality. You walked in, you saw some bricks. I think there were some for marriages, some for deaths, and I believe there is a memorial brick apart from this physical space up the hill that is dedicated in loving memory of those who passed away that were friends. On the museum here, and you know about Judy's volunteer contributions in that area. There's one there for her as well. But that hyphen, that's where we are. We've been to cemeteries. We've been to locations where people's remains are buried. And it may give the date of their birth. And then there's a hyphen. It's time. So, while we're here today to remember Judy's time, remember that just like Judy, and don't let it scare you. Don't live in fear. There's a lot to be afraid of and worry about and elevate our concern in the times in which we live. Let's take this moment to celebrate. Won't you bow up prayer? God, I want to thank you today for the gifts that you've given to us. Sunshine, your abundant love that comes from you that we share with each other. Just the sheer happiness that you give us in life. And some people will never be able to experience that. It seems that Judy did. For those of us who remain, and especially for family, yes, there are broken hearts because loss is real. A time to be born, a time to die. Judy, however, in a real sense, did not go alone in her departure from this world. The memories, the special celebrations, times in life, memories went with her, and it was you who called her home. In many times, in many ways, in the night watches, during the day, when she comes to our minds, we have a special need for her. Perhaps that need has led to tears. With all the love combined, through family, friendships, and whatever connected our lives to hers, if we could combine and bundle up that love, we could use the imagery that it would save her, and she would have never died. But that is your choice. There is the hyphen. There is the time that we live and the time that we die. So may the Lord be with you and rest you in his peace. Amen. Let me offer the following summary that was prepared for our remembrance of Judy today. So to all the friends, and relatives, and attendees who come today to honor this great woman, Judy Thomson, and to pay their last respects, it is a testimony to the lives that she personally touched. And I happen to believe or have seen or sensed that your lives touched hers as well. All of you have known her in a variety of roles. Some of you knew her as mother, sister, aunt, or aunt, depending on where you're from, grandma, co-worker, and great friend. She was born Judy Golda Jarrett in Santa Monica, California. Judy was the first child of Tom and Barbara Jarrett, and the oldest of 4 children, which include her brothers Punch and Jimmy and her sister Jill. I believe they're all here today. Am I correct in that? They're all here today. Yep. Get an amen from that. We're here. I'm sure that in growing up and in the following years from growing up, you have many great memories. She grew up in Sepulveda, California. She loved school and was a straight-A student. Judy had aspirations of becoming a teacher one day and would spend many hours studying, devoting much of her time to learning. She enjoyed decorating and dressing up, fashioning herself after Jackie Kennedy and Elizabeth Taylor in the 1960s. That's depicted in some of the pictures that you see and in the handout that you received. People looked up to her for her intelligence and her beauty. Being in nature and the outdoors was one of Judy's favorite hobbies. She loved camping and hiking, riding motorcycles, and exploring the California coast. She was always up for the new adventure and looked forward to planning her next trips. She loved music and enjoyed going to concerts and playing her music wherever she went. Did she write her music or just play music? Just play it. That's okay. That's okay. Yeah. Her enthusiasm for life was infectious. That's positive. Some infections are not good. You want to stay away from some infections, but infectious people who have a zest for life, you want to hang around them. Maybe some of that will infect you. Judy became the beloved mother of 4 children: Chris, Ariane, Cindy, and Tim. Being a mother came first before anything. She was nothing short of amazing to her children and her grandchildren. They were her life. Judy enjoyed living in the mountains near Fraser Park, California, watching her children grow, and taking them on adventures in their motorhome. She became a water meter reader later on, after her kids were grown, which she loved greatly. I can't imagine that, but there's a lot of things I can't imagine. If you love a water meter reading, go for it. It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it, right? I was a pastor once. Oh, no, to be a pastor today. And I'm saying it's a tough job. Somebody's got to do it. When Judy moved to Arizona, she continued to work as a meter reader and enjoyed walking her routes each day, being outside and meeting new people. She saw the beauty of the Arizona desert and enjoyed exploring all of the scenery. There's a lot here. After Judy retired, she devoted the time to her family and started to be a volunteer at this museum here at Superstition. She found the history of the museum to be fascinating and loved dressing the part. They all would call her the Hat Lady. I suppose this is one of those hats. I would assume. They call her the Hat Lady because each time she came to the museum, she would be wearing a new hat. Don't fight over the hats. I don't know what happened to the hats. Lots of hats. It goes with one person. She was described as fun and energetic by others, and always wanting to do something to help or to make others feel comfortable. Her beautiful laugh and presence made people feel welcome. What a legacy. What a beautiful life Judy lived. And so I invite each of you to keep Judy alive in your hearts, in your memories, though she may be gone from your visual sight. Never let her out of your heart and your memory. She will be missed greatly. At this time in our celebration of life service, at least the 4 children are going to come up in their order. Feel free to stand out front or come up to the podium. So at this time, I'm looking for the names. It's Chris and Tim, right? Chris and Tim, Cindy and Ariane. We've come as you have determined how to remember this. Now I have to say, as Cindy, right? Cindy, I have to say I can associate with this because I'm not as young as I look, and I thought about this upcoming day in my life. I just wonder, what are my kids going to say when they're given the opportunity? So I'm eager to hear that your mother was a great lady. And I know that she would appreciate whatever you choose to say, and we will as well. Thank you.
My heart is pounding out of my chest. So please bear with me. Seeing everyone here today, my mom feels so proud and honored that you all came for her. Thank you for all of you that have supported us and sent your condolences. We've received phone calls, flowers, texts, meals, visits, and prayers. I know she would have really wanted to thank you for that as well. There's so many memories of my mom, and it's hard to put it all into 5 minutes or however long I have here. But how she raised us will influence my life forever. To say I had the best mom doesn't do her justice. She was simply amazing, the most selfless woman, loving, strong, and caring person I've ever met. Everyone else's needs always came first. I just found myself wanting to be around her. Each day I'd come home from school, she'd be there. She'd make dinner every night. She woke me up every morning. She never went and had a night out or went and got pampered. She was just always there for us, every day. We were always going on camping trips. She really tried her best to make things special for us. As I got older, I just became closer and closer with her. We would go to concerts together, vacations. I loved watching her get so excited about going to new places. Or trying a new restaurant. She took me to my first concert when I was 8 years old, which was Paula Abdul. And then she took me to the Rolling Stones when I was 15 with my sister. We shared that in common, and it was a great hobby to have together. The last concert we went to was Air Supply, which was her favorite. And I found myself that night sitting there and watching her, and she just loved music and would just be smiling and dancing in her chair the whole time. I'll miss that. After I got married and had a family, she'd always say to me she didn't understand why I wanted her around, so much. Don't you want some alone time? And I'd say, no, I want you here, because she just sparkled. And wherever she went, her sparkle would fall all over. When she retired, she became my son Wyatt's nanny. They grew very close together. Watching her with him would fill my heart with joy. As many of you know, my son Wyatt was diagnosed with autism. My mom spent countless hours and days reading books and going on the internet, trying to find a way to help him and help me. And I'll never forget that. She was such an amazing grandmother. There's so many things I miss. I miss calling her every day. I miss venting. She'd ask me 100 questions, and then we'd talk about the kids. And I miss her coming through my front door with 20 bags in her hands and her dog pulling her, and her yelling, "Chloe, Chloe." I miss her talks with Matt about aliens and Bigfoot. She loved Bigfoot and people disappearing into the wilderness, and her and Matt would talk about that all the time. And I'd sit there like shaking my head, but it was actually pretty interesting. As some of you know, before Judy had cancer twice before this one, but her passion for life never changed. She was always the type and win, not sit and dwell. Living for her was to be free. She loved her independence. She wanted to help whoever she needed, whoever needed it. She was just full of courage and strength. When we found out at the hospital that there was nothing else that could be done, it was devastating. I felt so mad and sad I couldn't help fix her lungs. Being a nurse, I didn't have the answer, and that was hard. She passed away peacefully on her terms. In the hospital, I read something that put her passing into perspective, and I wanted to read it to you. It was a poem that they gave me, and a handout they gave all of us. It says, I'm standing upon a seashore, a ship at my side, spreads her white sails to the moving breeze and starts out for the blue ocean. She is an object of beauty and strength. I stand and watch her at length as she hangs like a speck of white cloud just where the sea and the sky come to mingle with each other. Then someone at my side says, there, she's gone. Gone where? Gone from my sight. That is all. She is just as large a mass as she was when she left my side. She is able to bear her load of living freight to her destined port. Her diminished size is in me, not in her. And at that moment says, there, she's gone. There are other eyes watching her coming, and other voices ready to take up the shout, here she comes. And that is dying. She is all of our guardian angels now. She is free. I picture her just as beautiful as ever, in heaven, traveling all over. I miss you every day, Mom. Your wisdom and strength as a person and as a mother inspires me to do better. I love you. Thank you for everything you did for us.
It's really beautiful. Same with me. It's really hard to be standing here, but I just wanted to thank everybody for coming, everyone for being here. I can see that Mom touched so many lives. I know if Mom could talk to me, she would tell me not to be sad and to be strong. She would want to know how Rocky and Lauren's prom was, if they are excited to graduate high school next week. She would ask how Sarah likes her new promotion and what new things Aurora and Maya are doing. And she would ask if Roman is upset about the Suns. The Suns losing. She would want to hear about Colleen's first nursing school semester and how Ryan's property is doing. Then she would have follow-up questions to all of those questions. One of the last things my mom said to me was that she just wanted to make sure her children had a good childhood. That was so important to her. I believe that we all really did. She would come up with trips we could take out in our motorhome. And most of the time, she was by herself with us kids. Mom was adventurous, strong, beautiful, inside and out. She had the most beautiful hands and fingernails. She liked to dress up and wear as much bling as possible, as you can see by her hat. So Mom, she was a wonderful grandma and helped me raise my kids. I find myself doing and saying a lot of the things that she said to me when I was growing up. For example, if I wanted to go to a friend's house and stay overnight, she wanted to meet and talk to the parents. I always hated that, and I told her that was so uncool. She would reply with, "Ariane, you're my $1 million diamond, and I'm not letting you go just anywhere." Well, that made sense to me, and I've actually used that line with my own kids. Seems to work. Mom loved music. Some of her favorite bands were Fleetwood Mac, Neil Diamond, Eagles, Christopher Cross, but her most favorite was Air Supply. We went to many concerts together, and I loved watching her dance and sing and wave her hands in the air. It's because of her love for music that I got married. She also liked Johnny Mathis, and he sang a song called Ariane. Mom told me she knew that if she ever had a daughter, that would be her name. So no matter how hard it is for people to pronounce my name, it's okay. Because my mom wanted me to have that name because it's unique and different, just like she was. Mom loved celebrating others' accomplishments. She was fun to be around and always made everyone feel welcomed. She put a lot of thought into everything she did. She would make deviled eggs for our family gatherings, with a small portion made with Miracle Whip for my husband. I recently found a letter that I wrote to her when I was a teenager. I would like to read it to you. This is April 16th, 1997. Dear Mom, I just wanted to write you a quick letter and tell you how much you mean to me, and also tell you how much I love you. But I've been praying and thinking of all the time. I've been praying and thinking of you all the time. Will you tell Timmy that I miss him, and I love him, and to be good? I'll hopefully be talking to you soon. I miss the sound of your voice. Please write me back soon. Love, your daughter, Ariane. Finding this letter was very special because I know she knew how much I loved her, even when we had struggles. The last thing I want to say about my mom is how she changed my life and made me the person I am today. She never gave up on me. She was always there, no matter what. I pray that I can be at least half the person she was. Again, thank you all for being here.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here. My mother was an amazing person to know. She had touched so many people in her life and is dearly loved by her family and friends. But above all, she was the best mother that I could ever ask for. And I mean that in a lot more ways than just having the title of mom. She was my mentor, my confidant, my biggest cheerleader, and the best friend. We had a special relationship in my adult life that I equate to being the baby of the family. And for that, I always feel like I received a little bit of extra special treatment. I think my sisters will know what I'm talking about. She loved all of us kids so much, and I really believe that her greatest joy in life was raising us. And trust me when I tell you, she had her work cut out for me. When I tell you that we were best friends, that may not always been the case when I was younger. I was the last of 4 kids, and my mom was 42 years old when she had me. Looking back on it, I think that took my mom a lot of courage to have a new baby at that age. And just as fate would have it, I was a terrible child to raise. I was hyper and uncontrollable in a lot of ways, and I required constant reprimanding. And believe me, my mom was quick to hand it out. She was old school in that way of raising kids. She didn't put up with any crap. It was her job to raise you first, and she would be your friend later. And for the type of child that I was, I respected her more for that and loved her even more. And even though I didn't deserve it sometimes, she would always throw me awesome birthday parties, take us on fun camping trips, and always take time for the extra things that were going on in my life, like playing sports or making sure I had fun things to look forward to. Some of my best memories from childhood were going camping on trips to Travel Village or camping at the beach. My teenage years and all through high school, it was just me and my mom living together. We had a lot of good times, but just as when I was a teenager, I get my mom a lot of grief in those years. I was getting in trouble at school, getting in trouble with the law. And just like in my younger years, she wasn't trying to be my friend, she was trying to raise me. I could have gone down a lot of real bad paths in my life. I know that my mom's commitment to raising me to be the man that she knew I could be kept me from going down this path. I don't know why I gave my mom such a hard time in those days. And I know that sometimes she may not have always felt that way. Just like the saying goes, even bad men love their mama. I know now as an adult that I owe everything to my mother for how I turned out and the person that I am today. My mom moved to Arizona when I was about 20, and it makes me a little sad that I didn't have her close by for all those years. But we would make every effort to see each other as much as we could. We spent a lot of holidays together, and a lot of fun trips in those years. I was always so excited to see my mom and just sit and talk with her. That was probably my favorite part of having her as a mom, was just talking with her. She had a sense of wisdom about her. It would make you look at things in a different way than no one else ever had. Even talking on the phone, she was the first person I would call for advice, and the first person I would call if I had good news to share. And believe me, she wanted to hear all about it. No detail was too small for her. You know, that's what I'm going to miss the most, is just talking to her. I think that my mom lived a really great life and got to experience a lot of great things. She saw her children get married and have children of their own and start families. And I know for us kids, we're blessed just to have inherited some of the values that made my mom great. Her sense of humor, her fearless love for her family, her strength and courage, and her strong work ethic. She did have a strong work ethic. I don't think she ever had a job that she didn't like. I mean, we're talking about a woman that worked late into her 60s, had a job that required her to walk around in 115-degree weather. She was freaking tough.
I didn't like that at all, boy.
For the last 14 years, my mom had beat 2 bouts of cancer, some of which was while she was still working. She had beat it twice, just to find out last year that it was back for a 3rd time. She was going to have to fight again. During this time, she got pneumonia, and she still kept going. She got COVID, and she still kept going. This last time she got pneumonia that was caused by her treatment, and that was the one that she couldn't beat. You know, I don't know why my mom got dealt such bad cards in her life with her health. She always took such good care of her body and never did anything to abuse it. That's the thing about her. She would always play those cards. She would never fold. She would take anything life threw at her and keep on trying. She was solid. She was as solid as a rock in that mountain behind us. I didn't share any specific stories here today about my mom, because honestly, I couldn't pick a favorite one. I know everyone here has a special memory of her, and I know my sisters and I have plenty of inside jokes and stories about the funny things my mom did. And we will remember for life. I would like to ask everyone here to keep her in your memory and think about her from time to time. The life that she led, the great person that she was, and how she touched all of you personally. And I want to end by saying, Mom, I know you're in heaven, but I sure miss you down here on earth. I know you're looking down, watching over us, and I can feel your presence every day. I will always be thinking about you. I know that you're in good hands. I love you. Thank you.
I can stand up here all day long and talk about my mother. No reason, I even had to write this because I was told I had to keep it short. So I'm going to try my hardest to keep it short and say the things that I want to say. Going last, I got to hear my brother and my sisters first. I want to say I love the fact to hear that all of us talk about the family. You know, I got the first 11 years, that were devoted to me. You know, I was the only child. I talk about that year. But anyway, I must have read this thing 50 times, so I didn't start crying until I was 3. Because if I do, I'm gonna have to start over. It's the best yet. In my eyes, I had the greatest mother that ever walked the face of this earth. She did nothing but devote her life to all her children, always being there to help every one of us, never missing a birthday or a holiday without sending a card. I kept every one of mine, and this year, I now received my last card, Easter. My beloved mother is no longer with us. I can't imagine how my life is going to be now. She was my best friend. We talked all the time. Because of me living in Montana for the last 25 years, I was only able to see her 5 times. That's not enough. My sister's got her golden years, and I'm thankful for that. She actually told me when I was a kid that she wanted me to have brothers and sisters, and one day I would be older, have a family of my own, and I probably wouldn't see her as much. She said that's why she wanted to take me so many places, so I would have those memories when she passed away. With me being older and out of the house, she could devote her time to my younger brother and sisters. And she did just that. I had 11 years of my mother's undivided attention as a single child. She took me everywhere and taught me a lot, even how to drive a manual transmission. I've seen the giant sequoia trees. I've been to the Redwood National Forest in Utah, Las Vegas several times, Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico. I've been in the Petrified Forest, in the Grand Canyon, right here in Arizona. My mother also took me on a whitewater rafting trip, and I've also been fossil hunting with her several times. I've also seen Old Faithful and Yellowstone. She gave me my memories. I was very upset with her son passing because she should have lived at least another 10 years. I had to look back and think about all the other times she dodged the Grim Reaper, is what I say. Once when I was 10, she was in a head-on collision with a Volkswagen bus. The whole thing was crushed in. She walked away with nothing but a broken arm. Both her and I were flipped out of the whitewater raft. She was stuck under the raft, gasping for air, and somehow managed to push the raft just enough to get out from under it. The raft was stuck on a rock. She also beat cancer twice. Thinking of all these near-death experiences gives me some peace of her passing. I could have lost her 40 years ago. I love you, Mom. Not a day will go by for the rest of my life that I don't think about you and your son, Chris. Thank you, everybody. It could be longer, that's for sure.
There's a phrase in the scriptures that gives us an imagery of what we've just heard. That for the mother who lives her life well, is devoted to her children, to her family as best she can, even with her human limitations. That in times like these, her sons and daughters will stand up and call her blessed. How blessed to have grown up in Judy's home as a son, as a daughter, is what we just heard. I'm going to just impromptu here, and don't take this the wrong way. Take it the right way. She has 3 siblings here. Would any of you Punch, Jimmy, Jill? Where are you? Who's who? Jill.
I'm done, Jim.
Jim. Punch. Would any of you just like to stand and share with us? Just off the top, what was something maybe from childhood or whatever you'd like to say? And again, please hear me out. I know that in the dinner following, any of you, and I strongly urge you after this service, it's going to be an opportunity to share. Please do that. It will be such an encouragement to the family, but as the closer family members, is there anything you'd like to share here?
That's pretty tough act to follow there, but
Why don't you stand? I like to
Well,
know.
I share the sentiments, thank you all for being here, but she was, the sweetheart of our family. She was just, she just, nobody could surpass the passion she showed for her family. Incredible. And she had that wanderlust, she loved to go camping and stuff. I have many stories I can share personally, but it's hard for me to get up here and, to say stuff,
It's okay, it's very, very meaningful, and maybe you can share some of those stories around the campfire dinner tonight.
Oh, yeah, I got quite a few that everybody else does, yeah. She was our big sister.
Yeah, sure.
She was Judy.
Where did she rank in the family then, of the 4 of you?
She was the oldest.
Oldest, okay. So you had to look up to her.
Yeah.
Kind of.
She was born during the war, because in the war, so
Yeah.
we're all baby boomers.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Anything you'd like to add? Here, now, maybe later? But, any?
I'd like to say she was a great sister and poor kid,
Wasn't that great? Yeah. Now, you live in Kentucky, right? How long have you been in Kentucky?
too long.
Too long. Now, did all of you,
Being away from my family like this.
yeah. You come back to a family reunion, not so, should I say, joyous or preferable circumstances, but nonetheless, you may be able to make it, and that's much appreciated. And I trust that this will be meaningful for all of you, as well as the rest of you who came to show your love and admiration for wow, what a life. I got one more. It's not in a music genre. Full disclosure here. We're going to watch about a 10-minute slide presentation of Judy's life. I find interesting. Yeah, I'm a pastor for 20 years, and then God has a sense of humor. I don't know how well you know God. I'm not sure I know God well, but I found myself for the next 20 years in one way or another working with 8th and 9th grade students teaching English. Now, I've got a pastoral type background, but I'm observing these kids. And I just want to use one line. It's a Leon Woman song. And I used to do this every year, toward the end of the year. Some of these kids were brilliant, sharp, came from wonderful families that I soon discovered. Some of these kids were beaten down, had no motivation, couldn't see any bright future for themselves. Some of them gave the indication that I've been told I would never be anything due to this or that or the other. So I came across probably a genre of country. Leanne Woman had a song, I Hope You'll Dance. And I won't share all the lyrics because I would really mess them up horribly. But this is the image. There are circumstances in life in which you feel beaten down and lost and separated. You can't see your way through or around or below or on top of. Rather than sitting out life, I hope you'll dance. I hope you'll dance. Whatever that means for you. Because Judy is a woman who danced through life and was the better off for it and left a great and lasting legacy for all of us here. So now I don't know who's in charge of this, but we have someone who's going to start the slide presentation, and then we'll come back up and close out this service.
Now the night has gone, now the night has gone away. Doesn't seem that long, we hardly had 2 words to say. Hold me in your arms for just another day. I promise this one will go slow. Oh, we have the right, you know. We have the right, you know. Don't say the morning's come, don't say the morning's come so soon. Must we end this way when so much here is hard to lose? Love is everywhere, I know it is. Such moments as this are too few. Oh, it's all up to you. It's all up to you. Here I am, the one that you love, asking for another day. Understand, the one that you love loves you in so many ways. Tell me we can stay, tell me we can stay, oh please. They are the words to say, the only words I can believe. Hold me in your arms for just another day. I promise this one will go slow. Oh, we have the right, you know. We have the right, you
could stand for the closing reading. These words are designed to encourage each of us as we make our journey through life. May God grant you His blessing as we leave this place today. As you know, there is dinner afterwards, and I trust that will also be a wonderful time together, sharing, enjoying the food that is prepared for all of you. This is a Psalm of David. I think you'll recognize it. A little bit more contemporary language. God, my shepherd, I don't need a thing. You have bedded me down in lush meadows. You find me quiet pools to drink from. True to your word, you let me catch my breath and send me in the right direction. Even when the way goes through Death Valley, I'm not afraid. When you walk at my side, your trusty shepherd's crook makes me feel secure. You serve me as a 6-course dinner, right in front of my enemies. You revive my drooping head, and my cup brims with blessing. Your beauty and love chase after me every day of my life. I'm back home in the house of God. Judy, back home in the house of God for the rest of life. May God add His blessing to read His word. Now for all of you. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord cause His face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord also turn His face and His favor upon you and give you His peace, both now and forever. Amen. God bless you. You're dismissed. Thank you for coming today.